and welcome to WION World of Cricket with me, Digvijay Singh. Five-time world champions Australia are finally up and running at the ICC Cricket World Cup. They've beaten Sri Lanka by 5 wickets. It wasn't as easy as that scorecard would look at the end. They were made to work very hard by a team, remember, who, like them, had not won a single game so far in this tournament. Dav Whatmore, Sri Lanka's 1996 World Cup winning coach, is here with me, and he had divided loyalties perhaps because he's coached Sri Lanka and he played his test cricket for Australia. Dav, will it be a huge sigh of relief? We saw those smiles there. We saw David Warner sitting out there with a big grin on his face. We saw a much more relaxed Australian dressing room. The question is, will this sort of spur them on and turn around their World Cup campaign?
Well, you would hope so. It certainly was a welcome 2 points, but it wasn't easy, I tell you. You know, I think they did a good job halfway through that bowling effort, but also Sri Lanka opened the door to them and gifted a few wickets, which enabled them, the Aussies, to press home the advantage and bowl them out for a below par score. So look, they'll be happy, absolutely a sigh of relief, but they also have some work to do yet. I'm not convinced with them either.
Okay, the great Dav Whatmore is not convinced with Australia. That's saying a lot. I mentioned Australia's famed fighting ability when we were doing the preview show in the morning. Is that why you can never rule them out till they're officially out of reckoning?
Well, yes, I suppose. But also, you know, there's two sides to the coin. There's an opposition that has a say in it as well. So, you know, you're not going to get oppositions that just, you know, open the door for you all the time. You have to work longer and harder for it. You know, at 1 for 100 and what?
125 for no loss.
Yeah, you know, like they were looking down the barrel really, and it wasn't until you know, Pat Cummins, the one that really stood up and as a leader, and he needed to do that, got both set batsmen out and followed up with a run out, and he really set them on the road to you know, bowling them out in the cheap.
Let's look at how this match unfolded. We're going to bring up the match scorecard on this screen behind me. And when you look at this, Sri Lanka, as you said, 125 for no loss because Pathum Nissanka and Kusal Pereira got the runs at the top. But what an astonishing collapse. It's never happened to them in a World Cup that they've lost so many wickets in a heap. And the last time it happened was the 75 World Cup, where they were effectively the Netherlands. They were an associate team.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, look, the top two, a good effort, but you would like one of them to continue on, but it didn't happen. But they still did some work before they got out. But the disappointing thing, you know, the captain, Kushal Mendis, he was looking so good and went for one of his favourite shots a little bit too early. And sadly, he perished for the good catch as well. But he and also Samara Vikram are both boys in a bit of good form. And he was sadly adjudged LBW when it was just kissing that wicket, you know. It was very, very unlucky for that, just like Warner was, I guess, when he's LBW. So I guess it evened itself out. But
Dad, look at this
here. Too much
here.
discretion.
78, 61, yeah. 25.
And the next one, 9.
And then 9.
Yeah.
Nobody else got double figures. I think extras were the fourth highest with 13.
Not good enough, Diggy. Absolutely not good enough. If you're playing at this level and their batting is better than their bowling, we all agree with that. But they should have scored more, no question. It was just indiscretion, bad decision making, and the result is
But
poor.
we've seen it, twice in 2 days? Pakistan, similar position, 155 for 2 in Ahmedabad on Saturday, and then they, lost 8 for 36.
Yeah.
Just, you know, you've been inside these dressing rooms. Does panic set in? What explains this sort of collapse? Because let's be very honest, while Cummins bowled very well, it wasn't exactly a seaming pitch. It wasn't a pitch where the ball was spinning a mile. What happens? What goes through a batter's mind? Was it that small break for the rain?
Well, it could have been. That may have been...
but they were still 4 down by that stage.
Yes, that's right. It may have been, but I doubt it. It's all mental. It's nothing else. You know, it's your ability to handle sometimes perceived pressure. Pressure is there. Sometimes pressure can be perceived. And, you know, this game's a big game. They know they have to win. Australia know they have to win. They're locked in a bit of a battle here. They started well, and all of a sudden, you know, the 2 set batsmen are out. Bloody hell, I've got to do something. The best batsman gets out on a bad shot, good catch. And then you got a bad LBW decision. All of a sudden, 4 gone, you know. And then number 6 and 7 have to come in, and you know that's a little bit of a longer tail without the captain there. And then it's mental, nothing else, you know. It just weighs on your head, and there's almost, you know, you don't know where the next run's coming from. Then you look to get it, and then you make another error, and then like that run out. Yeah. No need for that, you know. Good piece of fielding. There's no need to take the chance.
Captain Cummins. But just looking at this scorecard, the most important bit right at the end, Australia winning by 5 wickets, which gets me to my follow-up question. Are Sri Lanka officially out now?
Yes, I'd say so.
Big call coming from Dav Whatmore. Must be paining him to say that. But they lose 3 in 3, and you've got 6 to go, and you've got, what? You've got England there, you've got India there.
Surely they're out, right?
Yeah.
They can't possibly make it into the last 4. As sad as it is for me to say it, that's the reality.
Okay. Just looking at Australia, you know, we're going to see numbers of the Australian batters come up on our screens. And do you think Sri Lanka, when you look at it, had Australia under the mat, both with bat and ball? We talk about the 125 for no loss, but they also had 2 of Australia's most dangerous batters back in the hut with just 24 on the board.
Smith was
Smith
one
and
of them.
Warner.
Yep. Well, yeah, absolutely. And Madhushanka was the wrecker there. There we go. Steve, 0 in 5 balls. That can happen to any batsman, I guess. But, you know, you would like to think that he'd get some runs and a chase under lights. But that's the way it goes. Madhushanka, though, needs to get a bit of a pat on the back, you know. Some of his delivery, or most of his deliveries, were very good. They were, right from the beginning, he was on target. And you really did have to put the bat in front of the pad. Otherwise, you know, you get whacked on the pad as a right-hander and you're out.
We just saw Mitchell Marsh's numbers coming up before this, and we also have his wagon wheel, which we'll pull up. Now, what he did was he counter-attacked. And that perhaps showed why they have so much faith in him. This is his wagon wheel, what, 52 or 51. But at that stage, Australia were reeling. And perhaps they were in a similar position to where the Lankans were, where Australia started to smell blood in the water. Sri Lanka was circling, but he sort of took the game away for them, especially what? He got 52, and when he got out, they were, what, 80 odd?
Yeah, he looked pretty focused tonight. And I could see that he just was keen to watch the ball. I was watching his lips on a very close-up, and I'm sure he was saying, watch the ball, and he was playing pretty straight. And pretty much is a down-the-ground player, Diggy.
Well, look at those runs. 19 and 8, 27, 27 and 5, 32, 36 runs, almost there.
He's pretty much down-the-ground player because he's tall and he likes to come on the front foot and hit it. And that wicket that was coming on a little bit, although it was swinging, was not the worst wicket for him. And he's, you know, he needed some runs as well, I have to say. And he got it. Probably unlucky to get out when he did.
Yeah, that top order needs runs. We have some more numbers which I want to show Dav. And while we saw Stephen Smith's numbers, he didn't get too many, right? He didn't bother the scorers. He got a duck. But I also want to contrast Stephen Smith's numbers, his ODI numbers, which shows why he's so important for Australia. They need to build around him. But there are also some numbers we've got of him at this World Cup. And they don't make for very good reading. There you have it. 3 matches, 65 runs. A best of 46, an average of 21. You're not going to win a World Cup with your number 3 batter playing there. And who are you contrasting him with? You're contrasting him with Joe Root, who's done that job well for England.
Mendes.
Yes, he had a bad game. Kusal Mendes and Virat Kohli.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I was going to suggest that's one of the reasons why Australia haven't won those first 2 games. If Steve Smith is batting long and getting more runs, you generally find there's a couple more partnerships along the way, which will be the difference between a score that they can defend and a below par score. So he's pretty central to the cause of the Australian team.
But what's it coming down to? Why is he struggling for runs? He's too good a batter. Is it just about he's unlucky? Is he unlucky? He's getting the good balls straight up?
I think a little bit of that too. I mean, today was really good, and the previous match also was. Just looking at it, you thought, oh, it's missing the leg stump, but, Hawkeye suggested otherwise. So he's been a little bit unlucky. I wouldn't read too much into that. Just like Joe Root, everyone's saying, oh, he hasn't got many runs, but class will come through, and he will definitely get runs. Diggy, whether it's next game or the game after, definitely he'll get runs.
Okay, we also got similar numbers for David Warner. And I like David Warner. He was buzzing even when the small rain delay happened. He was sort of bringing out the covers.
Similar, 21.66.
Exactly similar numbers. Exactly. Yeah, just a best of 41. Yeah. But you get a sense that Australia now have the win. That's going to be a much more happier dressing room. I like the fact that they didn't change their team. They backed the same 11 which lost to South Africa. And that says a lot about the belief in the team that we can turn this around. What will their coach be telling them right now once they finish all these post-match formalities, when they're sitting in the dressing room? Is he invoking the spirit of 1999?
Yeah, definitely there'll be a lot of positives, a lot of good words, and a pat on the back for the reversal of the 2 losses. And 1 or 2 special performances will be highlighted and appreciated, and perhaps what they need to do a little bit to get better, but not much again. But you appreciate certain people who have contributed greatly for that win, and everyone will be in a very happier, lighter mood. Yep.
Okay, so this is Mitchell Marsh was teeing off at one end, but Australia was still 24 for 2. In walks Marnus Labuschagne. Let's look at Labuschagne's numbers and his wagon wheel. Is Labuschagne doing what Stephen Smith is expected to do? Hold one end up, you play around it. This is what he got, right? Okay, it may not be the greatest of strike rates, but at that situation when he walked in, his job was to keep one end up and allow Marsh to tee off, because Marsh was playing beautifully. Yeah. And then he played second fiddle again to Josh Inglis, who I'll come to later.
Yeah, look, he did a good job today. I'm not denying that. But you would like him to go on, though. You've spent that much time. You've invested yourself in occupying the crease. You've got yourself a start. You've done the hard work. Don't get out, man. You're chasing a score. And you never know in this game. You just open the door a little bit, and 1 might lead to 2 might lead to 3, and there's a real wobble. Not suggesting they would have lost it, but they could have lost it they could have come closer. They could have won it with only just a few wickets left. So, naughty boy today, did the hard work, but you got to go on. It was your responsibility.
So he's clearly not winning, getting a pat on the back from McDonald, is he?
To a point, you have to say yes. Look, obviously he did something there, right? But if he needs to improve, I'm sure
he's not a certainty in this squad. Remember, he came in because of an injury. Ashton Agar went away. They got him in. Perhaps they realised the batting order
and
is
did well
still shaky.
in South Africa.
In South Africa,
yes. one or
and
two
India as well.
Yeah, but he will tell you the same thing. I'm sure. If you're honest with yourself, yes, you did the hard work. You've got to start and you've got a little partnership going, but I know that I should have gone on, Coach. That's what he would say. I'm certain of that, yeah.
Okay, big talk last match and also this one. Why is Josh Inglis playing ahead of Alex Carey? I think it showed us why. And he's a busy cricketer. There are some cricketers who will, like Maxwell, come and tonk it all over the park. But he's a busy cricketer, wasn't he? And he got runs at a time when Labuschagne wasn't scoring too much, but just look at his way he runs all over the wicket. 58 or 59. He was running hard. He was getting the boundaries when he wanted. Some excellent sixes as well.
Yeah, unfussed, isn't he? This, what you see is what you get. He's just first time I've seen him play. I've heard a little bit about him, but first time seeing him on television, and he's very good. You know, he has a very simple approach. He doesn't move his feet too much, watches the ball, and then, you know, applies himself accordingly. That shot over the slip to third man, the ramp, that was really good too. And he's shown us he can drive, he can play the pull shot, he can play a sweep shot, and I thought that his work today was very, very good, and was the reason why that put the pressure back on the opposition at a time where it could have been a little bit wobbly. Yeah.
Okay, but just talking when he walks in, right? He walks in, they're 81 for something. Do you think Kusal Mendes, the captain who's inherited the mantle because Dasun Shanaka has gone away, did he get it wrong?
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Because he's held back Madhushanka, who's been Sri Lanka's best bowler, right? His opening spell, 5 overs, 2 maidens, 14 runs and 2 wickets. And then he's held him back till there's, 50, 60 left. The game's gone by then.
Yeah, if you agree, I'm sure you'll agree with me, that to win the game tonight, you're going to have to bowl them out.
Yeah.
So you have to take wickets, which means 2 things. You've got to get the right bowlers in to take wickets, and you also got to support them with a little bit more of an attacking feel. A little bit in-out maybe. But anyway, you've got to get your best bowlers. No point holding them back, as you said, for later when they're getting only a few runs to win the game.
When a few hits can just change the game, right?
Yeah,
but would you agree that perhaps 81 for 2, okay, maybe not then, he's earned a breather.
A little bit later, yeah.
But even when they were, say, at 100, and it get him in because he was the only one who was making the ball do something.
Absolutely. No argument there.
But what's the coaching staff doing there? Can't they send a message to the captain who's playing his sort of first game in a World Cup as captain? He's behind the stumps. He's supposed to be reading the game very well. Do you think this is where the inexperience showed?
Well, sometimes you've got to send a message. You know, ideally, if you send too many messages, it becomes a bit confusing. But certainly the message should go, but it's the way in which it, you know, it's the language. The communication. You know, what I used to do was to tell the person taking the message, tell the captain, please think about this, not you must do this. You know, if you tell him you must do this, he probably say, bugger off, you know, I know better. But, you know, please consider this, try this. We think from the boundary, your best way is to do this. So perhaps, and who knows, the message may have gone out, I don't know.
Okay, we're talking about the Sri Lankan bowlers. I want to talk about the Australian bowlers. We'll get the figures up on our screens. Pat Cummins, the captain, just contrasting him, you know. Pat Cummins, you mentioned how he sort of took charge. There was a point when he was getting hammered. Everyone was getting hammered. But then he took that responsibility and he delivered those 2 vital breakthroughs. Now, 24 dot balls, 2 for 32. But what this doesn't tell you is how he responded to the changing dynamics in the match.
Surely.
Very similar to what Rohit Sharma did in that Pakistan game. Once they got Babar out, they said, okay, this is a chance. You were thinking at a stage where those guys were going, and we were talking that 280, 300 looked on the cards.
Yeah, he had 2 spells, didn't he? The first spell was not all that good, although he did get the ball past about a couple of times.
I have his first spell, 1 for 60, 3 overs for 16. And then he came back in that second spell and then took those wickets.
That's right, yeah. So, you know, he had a bit of a go at him, decided to bring others on. So 16 runs in 3 overs, not the worst either.
Yeah.
And then took the responsibility of removing both set batsmen. And, you know, that was just a terrific effort for him. And luckily he got those wickets. As a leader, you need to be able to do things like that, particularly when you've only played a handful of games and you're the captain. So he's particularly one who should be leading by example. And today he set a very good example. And not to mention the direct hit. The direct hit, but, you know, it got the batsman out by a couple of inches. So, you know.
But he also remembers, because if I remember correctly, I think it was the Lord's Test, right? When England was smashing it, they started bowling short and he was the one bowling short, and they fell for it. He tried to hook him and he got caught on the boundary.
And he can get some steep bounce too, because, you know, he hits the deck pretty hard and tall guys. So, yeah, good luck to him. He had a welcome return to form, and he'd be very pleased with himself as the leader.
Okay, I just have some more numbers. Let's show the other ones as well, because Stark had 37 dots, and again he has this tendency to pick up wickets. He had 2 wickets. Cummins 24 dot balls. Hazelwood 28 dot balls. And remember, this perhaps came at the back end once they started losing wickets, because initially they were going for runs.
Yeah, look,
but that also shows, right, that the good bowlers, and they're decent bowlers and they're great bowlers.
They come
the
back.
good bowlers, the great bowlers, they know when to sort of up their game and come back.
It's a bit like Trent Boult too. When I watched him early on, I think, bloody, he's bowling some terrible deliveries, you know. And same with Stark on the leg side with the right-hander, getting knocked for boundaries, big deflections, easy deflections, and then all of a sudden, he's going for 4.3 at the end of his 10 overs and picked up 2 wickets.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a good effort, but he goes a little bit, you know, you expect more of him because he's such a good bowler, just like Trent Boult, you know. Good bowler, but I think he can get better, you know.
Okay, but he's a master when it comes to the World Cup. Let's talk about Dav Whatmore's favourite Australian cricketer, Adam Zampa. Now, Adam Zampa, a lot of stake, but picks up 4 wickets. Did he redeem himself, or you weren't convinced? Let's look at it. 8 overs, he got a maiden as well. Came back very well in the second half. And 26 dots, economy not too good, but importantly, 4 wickets for 47.
Look, it was a welcome return to the wicket column, I have to say. It's the first 3 overs. He had a 3-over spell, and then a 3-over spell, and then, 1 or 2, right? 2, I think. In his 3 overs, he got hit for boundaries. And I thought, oh no, he's just starting off in the same way, you know. And in his second spell, that's when the captain, Kushal Mendis, played a shot that he played too early. You know, a leg spinner turning away from him, he's playing that shot, half hit it okay, right? But it went in the gap. But luckily, David Warner's patrolling out there in the deep, and he takes a really good catch.
Running catch it was.
Running catch, and he's got a wicket. So I can see, you know, his reaction. Got a wicket, very good. Then, the next, lucky wicket I thought, then the next one, it was the good player, Samara Wickrama. Another guy.
He's getting good runs in this World Cup.
Yeah. And the way he bowled it, and if I'm the umpire, there's no way you do that. You know, there's no way. That just was sliding down. But Hawkeye showed it was just like a whisker in it.
I think just like war in English football, we need to look closely at some contentious decisions. Maybe not on this show, maybe as we go along. Because even in that Pakistan game, you know, there were a few which didn't look out, but again, umpires call just crazy.
Some of the commentators say, great decision. What great decision? Really, I mean, if you're honest with yourself, that was not out.
Yep.
It's up to the fielding team to think, no, geez, I think that was out. And they then take the review. But not like that. And he benefited from that. So he's got 2 good batsmen out, right? Yep. So that should give him a little bit of confidence.
But just talking about confidence, let's get Zampa's numbers back up. Just looking at these numbers again, when he goes back to his hotel room, is he telling himself, it's there, I can do this? How does that work? How does confidence work? How does this 4 wickets sort of translate into turning Zampa, rubbish bowler first 2 games, into a potential World Cup winner for Australia, considering he's their only frontline spinner? Well,
I hope he's not satisfied today. I'm sure that the bowling coach should have a few minutes with him quietly, you know, just to have an honest review and to give him some confidence, though, you know, to continue to help him along the way, not to, you know, give him a whack in the backside or anything, but just to honestly have a review and just say, come on, son, we can do more. You can land that ball better. And there were some good signs, but he was a bit lucky, you know.
But good signs also at the end when he was bowling to tail enders.
Sure, tail enders as well, you know. So those 2 wickets that I talked about, they came from not because of building pressure, 1-1-1. They were hitting. You know, and perhaps Kushal Mendis thought, here's another easy one. You know, went for it, but sadly, a bit early.
But when you talk about confidence, would you have been happier with 5? I was surprised Cummins took him off and went to Glenn Maxwell when the wickets were there for the taking. There was a couple of wickets left.
Maybe, but his economy was more than that.
Yeah.
It was like 6.6, 6.7 at one stage, not long before he finished up on 5.8. So that probably be another reason why, we'll go.
But Maxi came and finished it off,
Yep.
like he did with the bat at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next 6 encounters. In fact, my phone is buzzing. All your comments, all your questions coming in as I speak. I'm just going to look at the next 6 set of fixtures for both teams, and then I'm going to ask Dav Whatmore to get into No More with Whatmore. We know that's the reason why you tune in. Let's look at next 6 fixtures. Let's look at Australia first. That's coming up. Okay. So we always thought that the first 4 were tough ones, and the fact is Sri Lanka may not have been playing the best, but they still are world champions. And then you have Pakistan. Then you've got what? Netherlands, New Zealand, England. So basically, in the next 4, they've still got 3 tough ones. And you think that to get to the semis, you need a minimum of 6. 6
Yes,
wins.
I do.
They've got 1 with 6 to go.
My gut feeling is telling me they'll win the next one.
They'll beat Pakistan.
I think so.
But that's not good news for Pakistan fans, because if they lose 2 on the bounce, then you don't know that's a shaky team.
Yeah. Then they have to, they have to win their remaining games as well. It's going to be a really interesting set of fixtures coming. But my gut feeling is that I think they can account for Pakistan. I know they started well.
But against whom?
Well, that's right.
Sri Lanka, Netherlands.
Yeah. The Australian team is slowly gathering momentum. They're nowhere near the finished yet, so they've still got a way to go. But I think they're on the way, and I reckon they'll account for them.
But is that why they're dangerous? Because once they gather momentum, then then you sort of, that DNA kicks in, right? Then they're that mentality monsters that they are. They remember, they're wearing the baggy green. It's not the test matches, but it's Australia with those 5 stars.
Yep. The confidence grows, and with their skill. But they still got some work to do with the ball too, just quietly, but both areas.
Okay, but
the fielding improved.
Do you think Australia getting to the semis comes down to these 2 games? New Zealand, who are playing beautifully, and England, who aren't exactly playing the best cricket at the moment, and it could come down that one of those teams, it could be a virtual knockout, that especially the game against England on the 4th of November. Where's that game?
I don't know.
It's in Ahmedabad.
Yeah, let's see. Let's assume the next 2. They win.
Okay, they win these 2,
and
so they've got 3,
and the
right?
last 2, right?
So that's 3, 4 and 5.
Yeah, so 1 out of these can do it.
Yeah.
But, that's just the theory. Let's see how it pans out. But that's what I
But they
think.
can't afford any more.
But they've got to win the next one. I think they can do it.
Okay, but they can't afford to lose. Okay, they've got what? 1, 2, 3, 6 games remaining.
Yeah.
How many more can they afford to lose?
At least 1. I mean, 1 max, I reckon.
1 max, okay. Interesting. Let's get Sri Lanka up, because Dav said he thinks they're out. Let's get Sri Lanka in. Let's get Sri Lanka's remaining fixtures. Okay, again the Netherlands, that's the one they think they should win. They beat them in that qualifier as well in the final. But then they've got 3 tough ones, the way I look at it. England, India. In fact, India is Mumbai. This is where the 2011 final happened. And they close up against New Zealand. But they have to win 6, and I don't see them winning. Okay, even if you look at 5, New Zealand went in with 5 last time. But do you see them winning 5 out of this?
Well, they'll be putting down Netherlands as a win.
Yeah, they think they'd beat Bangladesh and Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't know Afghanistan.
No, but that's what they'll be thinking. So
that's 3.
They can, you can bank on those.
Then they
3.
need a win, 2 wins against England, India, New Zealand.
Right. Tough, isn't it?
That's tough.
That's tough.
Okay, so time for me to bring up some questions. We call this No More with Whatmore. In case you're wondering, it's KNOW.
Thank you.
It's not No More. The only thing that is no more at the moment is Dav Whatmore saying Sri Lanka are out. So that's a full no.
You agree? Okay. You agree with that, right?
They're out. They're out. Yeah. Hey, can't bat like that. And that's what I feel about Pakistan as well. Sorry to our Pakistan fans. But you're in a position of strength.
Yeah.
And it's a game against India.
Yeah.
You can't. It just exposes that mentality, that it's not there, that mentality to scrap, that mentality to fight, as you say,
Against a good team.
Against a good team. Okay. Ali says, the wait is over. Finally. 3 finalies there, Australia have won their first match in the World Cup. Congratulations to Australia.
Yeah.
Parth asks, Sri Lanka's World Cup pretty much done. All they can hope for is to get an upset win over England, India or New Zealand. Could it have been a different story for them with Hasaranga and Shamira in their bowling attack? Because the problem is the bowling, right?
Yeah, those two certainly would boost their attack for sure, you know. You've got an out-and-out wicket-taker there as well. You've got Thakshana, who can also complement beautifully the wrist spinner. So, look, I just felt with those two, you are more than likely going to restrict opposition to under 300 all the time. Without them, you're going to leak a lot of runs.
Okay, Anshul has a question for the former Sri Lanka coach. He says the best bowling figures for Sri Lanka against Australia at the World Cups. He's got a few of them. He says Chaminda was 3 for 34, 2003. That's when you were playing. You were coach of them, right? Weren't you? 2003?
2003, yes.
Yes, that World Cup. Dilshan Madhushankar today, 3 for 38. Aravinda De Silva, the final, 3 for 43.
3 for 40,
96,
yep.
you were there. Yep. Definitely you were there. And Dilhara Fernando, Centurion, 3 for 47. As Sri Lankan coach, what do you think, which one's the best performance by a Sri Lankan bowler against Australia?
Well, I think Aravinda, for sure, in that final, because they got away. It was the first 15 overs there, and Mark Taylor and Mark Waugh, they got away real quick, and they were hitting nicely, and it wasn't until the spin came in that they put the brakes on, and not only that, they picked that wickets. Aravinda for sure, if you're my answer.
And you got 100 as well.
And you got 100, yeah.
Okay, just on that, there's a lot of people know your history with Sri Lanka. So Anand asks, I remember Sri Lanka's one and only win in the World Cup over Australia was the 96 World Cup final, and Dav was the Sri Lankan coach. Can you share that experience?
Well, on the final?
Yeah, winning that World Cup, that final in Lahore. I'm told that a lot of Pakistani greats visited you and they said, nobody here wants Australia to win. You're the home team. They even said, what kind of pitch do you want? Was it Ramesh?
Well, we had the support from the home crowd, no question. But honestly, with me, I was pretty calm. The game that I was really uptight was the one before.
The India game.
The semi-final, yep. But once we got to the final, I knew the boys were never going to let that go, because they were humbled by Australia just a month and a half ago on a tour.
When that entire Murli controversy happened.
Yeah, all that stuff, and now on the biggest stage possible, to try and show them that this team is as good as anyone, mate, and they got to the final with some really good cricket, and I knew that they were going to win, and it wasn't something that was just, it was in here that I knew.
Is that gut
I was
feeling?
very, very calm, to be honest with you. And Mark Nicholas got permission to come into the dressing room and sit with me both sets of innings, the first innings and the second innings, to do a special report, and he couldn't also believe that we're going to win a World Cup, and the way in which nice and calm and quiet, We just won it. I just knew we won it with...
what an innings from Aravinda. And you also, I think, need to remember that Asanka Gurusena got runs, and then the old war horse, Arjuna Ranatunga. Yeah. And in fact, I was speaking to Muralidharan just before this World Cup, and he was saying that if anything all of us take back from that World Cup was Arjuna's inspirational leadership, because that Murli incident sort of got them together.
Yeah.
And Arjuna sort of cashed in on it. He realized that there was something there, and somehow, in fact, you also credit Duleep Mendes for putting Kalubitharna up the order with Sanat Jayasuriya,
right.
who wasn't very impressive till that phase, was he? He wasn't getting those runs.
You're talking about Ramesh Kalubitharna?
Ramesh, I know, Sanat Jayasuriya wasn't getting too many runs, but when the World Cup started, it was...
Semi-final and final they missed out, but before that, gee, they made a big impact. In fact, Sanath got, I think, the batsman of the series.
Yeah, the MVP. He was the MVP.
A lovely orange Audi motor car.
Okay, yeah.
Which he took back.
Okay, Jacob says, Head is set to join the squad and he should rightly be selected straight away.
Have we heard it?
But would that mean that Manas Labuschagne is going to make way, which might not be the best of things because it would make this brittle middle order even more collapse prone? That's a great point, Jacob.
Yeah, but it also could go the other way. You know, it could be more positive. It could really, you know, set. But
what happens to Marsh? He drops down, right?
Mitch Marsh?
Yeah, he has to drop down.
He could.
Head opens with Warner, unless they want to drop Warner. Will we see a situation where Smith is dropped, or Smith plays every game irrespective?
He plays. Surely he plays. Unless he's injured, he will play, and he will get runs, Diggy. Don't worry, he'll get runs.
Okay, but this is a question on Labuschagne. You think it's fair on if Head comes in, then Labuschagne's the one to
If it's going to strengthen the team, so be it. Don't worry about it. You know?
But is that the strength of Australian teams? Emotion out of it.
Of course. You know,
they asked Steve Waugh to sit down.
And what about Alex Carey? You know, his keeping was pretty good. It's just that he didn't get the runs, but he wasn't alone. Now I've forgotten the point I was going to make.
Sorry.
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll
come
back.
George says, Australia back on track. Today is the only time we can see smiles on the faces of Australian fans since the start of the World Cup. I have a small clarification, George. I also saw David Warner, Pat Cummins and the rest have a huge smile on their faces. Played his cricket for Australia, big smile on your face?
Absolutely, yeah. For them, I know what they're going through. Any team, you know, I would understand that. But I remembered now, Diggy, you know, you just read out something about Travis Head coming back on that. But have we heard anything official?
No, I heard him read something the other day saying he's supposed to be back next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Today is Monday.
Sorry, so this week.
This week.
This week, yeah.
Okay.
I think ahead of that, maybe ahead of that Pakistan
It'll
game.
be nice.
But would you test him? Would you throw him straight in because he hasn't played since when? South Africa, that's about a month.
He's a good player, right? He's in the squad. He was picked in the squad.
But listen, he broke his hand.
Yeah.
So he hasn't batted all that period, right?
I'm sure he's batted in Adelaide before he came here, and he would have been put through some really tough paces, I'm sure. So I reckon he'll be competition ready for. You know, he wouldn't just be batting in the nets. They would have prepared him in the middle of the ground with some full-on fast bowling and spin bowling, and then you prove your fitness, son. You know, I reckon he's ready. He'll come straight in.
Okay. Shiva says this is a World Cup match. Where is everybody? But never enough. The score. Never. Sri Lanka imploded. Never enough against an Australian side. If they don't qualify, he's saying Pat Cummins should get sacked. Do you agree?
What happens if he does well and they don't win the game? Do you sack him?
No, but I think he's saying if they don't win the World Cup, then
yeah. What I'm saying is, okay, they don't win the World Cup, they don't get in the semi-finals, but he's your standout bowler from now on. Do you sack him for that?
Okay.
I think it comes down to performances individually and the team.
Okay, we were going gaga over India beating Pakistan, making it 8-0. Mohit says, most wins against an opponent in ICC Cricket World Cup, Australia 9 to Sri Lanka. It's 9. 9 wins against Sri Lanka.
Wow.
The only game I think is the final.
Yeah.
A good game to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're going to win one, you might as well win that one, eh?
Hessie says, next game is in Bengaluru, against Pakistan. It's going to be a tough game to take wickets for Adam Zampa. What do you think? Will Zampa sort of trouble the likes of Babar Azam and Rizwan? Should he be looking at the way the Indian spinners bowled at the Pakistanis in Ahmedabad? Because they shackled them. And then when that pressure kicks in, then pressure makes, as you said, it's a mental game. Pressure makes you do different things.
Yeah. Diggy, I'm expecting the Chinnaswamy, right? It's in Bangalore.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that Chinnaswamy to be a good batting wicket. The ball, it'll be the first game there, right? So I'm expecting the ball to come on nicely with decent bounce. That wicket has changed over the last couple of years. It's a good batting wicket. It's a small ground.
Yes.
And I think it's the battle of the muscle. Surely the bowlers will have a say in it, but I think any bowler is going to go the distance.
Okay, but
And it's
the
gonna be Australia.
problem with Pakistan, Dav, is, and I saw it again in the India game, they don't take the initiative. They're happy knocking it round. But like we saw at the end, the way Maxwell came, he had license to go and he went. That sort of rubs it in for the bowlers. Let's look at the points table. I'm told the points table is ready and it won't have Australia down at number 10. Let's turn and look at it.
What's the
Dav Whatmore said
run
Australia
rate?
are going to win. I said Sri Lanka. So
What's the net run rate?
Let's look at the net run rate. Okay.
Okay.
Netherlands go down. Australia up to 8. Net run rate, not that bad. Couple of more wins, they come up. But this is where they need to be, right? There's just 2 off right now. They're just 2 off a semi-final.
Well, it's one game.
One game.
One game off, with a run rate of minus
Minus
point,
7.
Yeah, 0.73.
Yeah.
And the 5th is 0.08. Yeah, so they'll be that England-Australian game is going to be an absolute belter too.
And they've got a couple of, they've got Netherlands. That's a game where they can work on that net run rate as well. They've got Bangladesh coming up, Afghanistan coming up.
Don't take them lightly though.
Okay.
You start on naught for naught.
Just let this be on. I'll just run through some more comments from our viewers who are watching on YouTube. They're watching on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We know there are other streams out there, but how many of them have got a World Cup?
This is one of the best ones,
surely. Thank you. Okay, Himanshu says, who would have believed that Sri Lanka won 13 matches in a row before this World Cup? It clearly shows that bilateral matches, the pressure of bilateral matches can't match the pressure of a World Cup game. Do we, Sunny, sort of experts, and I hear a lot of them, especially building up to that India game.
The qualifiers, the qualifiers.
No, this is Pakistan.
Yeah,
this is similar to Sri Lanka.
Yep.
A lot of those games were against teams who weren't exactly the best, were they?
But they had to win that, didn't they?
Yes.
The pressure in the qualifiers that, geez, if you don't win that, it is disgraceful. So there was a bit of pressure from that point of view, but they had a better attack.
It comes down to that, doesn't it?
The difference is the injuries that occurred at the Lanka Premier League, which was
But isn't that bad planning? Isn't that bad planning? That the Sri Lankan Cricket Board, not exactly friends of yours, but are they friends of yours?
Yeah, they're all right. I get on well with them.
Okay, but it comes down to that, right? They need that league for them to sort of earn a lot of revenue to keep cricket going.
Yeah.
But it's come at a massive cost. It's cost them a World Cup shot because, as you've been saying, the batters have been getting the runs. Okay, not in this game, but for about 25 overs, they had got the runs.
Yeah,
and it's the bowling which has sort of been a problem.
Maybe, Diggy, it could also come back to the individual player. I'm a contracted player. I'm a very, very required bowler for the team in the World Cup. Maybe I've got to look after this hamstring, As much as it's going to pain the franchise owner, I've got to
it doesn't happen. It didn't happen in the IPL as well. It happened in the IPL as well. Okay. Ashram says, Sri Lanka missing the services of the experienced Angelo Matthews in the middle. The inexperienced middle order doesn't know how to contain a collapse. And you've alluded to that as well.
Sure. Yeah, look, he could have easily been selected. And then after the World Cup, come to some arrangement that we're going to continue to develop younger ones. But in this World Cup, it's a tournament play. It's the pinnacle. So maybe they missed a trick in not having Angelo there.
Okay. Jacob says, well done, Cricket Australia. Sri Lanka couldn't capitalise on an early breakthrough, which they got. Lahiru and Tikshana have been highly disappointing. Australia's win was inevitable, just which Sri Lanka had made the chase a difficult one for them. The change was Lahiru Kumara. His first 3 overs went for 40. And I think he ended up 4 overs, 1 for 47.
Yeah, he possibly could have picked up a wicket too. It looked like he may have got the ball past the bat, and create a bit of a risky shot or two. But yeah, he did go for runs. It's his first game. He's got brute pace. I'm not sure he's 140, but enough to hurry up a batsman. But it didn't come off today. But another day, he could have picked up 1 or 2 wickets.
Okay, we have some polls running as well. I'm starting to wind this down. Is Pat Cummins the right captain for Australia? Dav Whatmore, what do you say?
If he's performing, yeah, for sure.
Okay, 41% agree with Dav. They say yes. 59% of you think he's not the right captain for Australia, especially in one-day cricket. Is Glenn Maxwell, my favourite Australian cricketer, Australia's game changer? And he changed the game, right? He got a wicket, he got runs.
He doesn't care. He's selfless.
Selfless.
He's selfless, you know. So he's always for the team. He'll sacrifice his wicket for the betterment of the team. And that's wonderful.
And that's what Australia need from him. Come in a pressure situation, smash it.
But sometimes you get angry at him too for getting out, you know. I mean, he could have a little bit of caution early, but, gee, he bleeds the team. Okay,
69% of you think, yes, he is Australia's game changer. Now, we also put out a question saying, what was the turning point in this match? Pathum Nissanka's wicket, Marsh's 52, or Mendes' poor captaincy? Okay, this is a close one, actually. It's a tie.
What is it?
You tell me.
Oh, okay. Well, I reckon it was getting out the set batsman.
Pathum Nissanka's wicket.
Yeah,
35% of you agree with Dav Whatmore.
And the other one. And
35% think it was Mendes' poor captaincy. 31% of you say it was Mitchell Marsh's 52.
The captaincy bit wouldn't guarantee a win either, though.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's a turning point. But I think getting both of those set batsmen out, that's what turned it.
It was poor. I just think that
it was poor.
Madhushanka should have come in.
We agree with
and
it,
you've attacked. Yeah. Okay. Can Sri Lanka qualify for the semis? Dav Whatmore clearly saying no. 14% of you still think yes.
Wow. That's loyalty.
Who was Australia's best player against Sri Lanka? Adam Zampa, Josh Inglis, Mitchell Marsh, Pat Cummins. Interesting.
There was pressure chasing runs as well, but it was more pressure when they were 1 for 125. I'm going for the captain.
Okay, I've also gone for the captain, Pat Cummins, but sadly, just 13% of our viewers have gone with Pat Cummins. 48% of them have gone with what the scoreboard says, so they've gone with Adam Zampa. 21% for Josh Inglis. Mitchell Marsh, 18%. Okay, good one. This is for you especially. And I actually put this question on because I knew I would have you on the show. Did Adam Zampa satisfy his detractors?
Does he satisfy his detractors? It's partly.
Okay.
Partly. 4 wickets is nothing.
See, I need a yes or a no.
Yeah, look, 4 wickets is nothing to be sneezed at, right?
Yeah.
But the way in which he got it is still, you know, is unconvincing.
Okay.
I want to see him build pressure, which is what he does normally.
Okay, 53% saying yes, he did satisfy his detractors. He did not satisfy Dav Whatmore. 47% of you agree with Dav Whatmore and me. Okay, final poll. Can Australia win this ODI World Cup?
To be honest with you, I don't think so.
Okay, and you know what? Many of them who think like you, because 82% have gone with no. Interesting.
Something has to change consistently now over the next few games, over the big teams.
Perhaps the return of Travis Head is what galvanizes this team.
Perhaps, yeah, but it'll take more than one person. Okay. You know, we'll like to see how they go in the next couple of these big teams, and then we'll have ask that question again, okay?
Okay, we'll do that. Next game, especially after the Pakistan game. Okay. So with that, we've tried to take all your comments, all your questions. Dav Whatmore very patiently has stood here. It's been close to an hour. Thank you for your patience, Dav. The news from here is Australia are up and running in this ODI World Cup. We've looked at what went right for them. Dav Whatmore saying they still have a lot to do if they are to go from competitors to contenders. And we've seen their next 6 fixtures. Dav Whatmore thinks they need to win at least 5 of them. It could come down to a very big game against England, old rivals. And one of those two could get knocked out as a result of that game. This is the end of WION World of Cricket for today. We think Sri Lanka are out. That's sad. Hopefully they entertain us over the remainder of the tournament. But for the moment, The entertainment is over. This is Digvijay, Singh and Dav Whatmore signing off on WION